The vast chamber of the Galactic Assembly shimmered with light from 1,000 worlds. Rows of representatives from countless species sat in silence, their scales, feathers, and metallic skin glinting under the soft blue illumination. The soundless tension stretched through the air like a drawn wire. At the center of it all stood the human delegation, calm and composed, their eyes steady and unflinching. For weeks, the peace talks had dragged on. The galaxy's mightiest powers had gathered to decide the fate of a conflict that had consumed sectors and burned civilizations. The humans had been the unexpected variable, the wild force that had entered the stars less than 5 centuries ago and overturned the balance that had lasted for millennia. They had risen too fast, too far, and the ancient powers feared them. At first, the talks had seemed hopeful. The Galactic Assembly believed it could tame human aggression through diplomacy and guilt. They believed that if they reminded humanity of their supposed crimes, the destruction of fleets that had attacked them, the expansion into forbidden sectors, they would bow their heads and submit to regulation. But the humans did not bow. They listened, they observed, and then they spoke with a tone that was neither humble nor arrogant, only certain. The supreme speaker of the assembly, a tall being with translucent skin that pulsed faintly with light, addressed the chamber. "Humans," the speaker declared, voice echoing through the air. "Your actions have destabilized entire quadrants. You have colonized worlds that were sacred to others. You have built fleets without authorization. You have ignored the decrees of the Galactic Assembly. Now you must submit to oversight. It is for your own survival." The human representative, a figure dressed in a simple dark uniform, raised his head slowly. His gaze swept the chamber. When he finally spoke, his words were calm. "We came here to seek peace, not permission." A wave of whispers filled the hall. The speaker's tone sharpened. "You misunderstand your place. The assembly exists to maintain harmony. If you refuse to cooperate, you will face the collective will of the galaxy." The human did not flinch. "We have faced worse. When our world was still young, we faced extinction more times than we can count. We survived ice and fire, famine and war. Every test forged us. Every threat taught us." His voice deepened. "We do not yield to fear." The chamber trembled slightly as murmurs spread. Some species were curious. Others were furious. To them, this was arrogance beyond measure. How could a young species, barely out of their cradle, speak to the galaxy's ancient powers with such defiance? The human continued. "You accuse us of aggression, yet it was not us who fired first when our ships entered your territories. It was not us who enslaved fledgling civilizations under your protectorate. You call it peacekeeping. We call it domination, and you ask us to surrender to it." Silence fell again. For the first time, many of the delegates found themselves unable to meet the human's gaze. Then the speaker spoke once more, voice cold and metallic. "You are naive. You believe your strength can protect you from the consequences of defiance, but the galaxy is vast. You are few. You will learn humility." The human's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. "Humility was learned long ago. We learned it when we saw our home burn and still rebuilt. We learned it when we crossed the stars, not to conquer, but to endure. But there is a difference between humility and submission." A tremor of unease moved through the chamber. Then the human turned, signaling to his delegation. One by one, the humans stood. They gathered their data pads and turned toward the great doors of the assembly hall. The speaker's voice echoed. "Where are you going?" "These talks are not concluded." The human paused at the threshold. "They are for us. You have already decided that peace means obedience. We seek no peace that requires chains." And then they walked away. For several moments, no one spoke. The chamber that had once thrummed with arguments was now hollow with silence. The sound of human boots faded into the distance, and the great doors closed behind them with a final echo that seemed to mark the end of an era. Outside, the humans boarded their ship. The vessel's hull bore the marks of 100 battles, its surface scorched yet whole like the species it carried. As it rose from the surface of the assembly world, it glowed in the starlight, a single streak of determination cutting through the void. Inside the chamber, chaos erupted. Representatives shouted across the floor, demanding explanations, warnings, and strategies. Some argued for sanctions, others for war. But a few, the older, wiser ones, remained silent, remembering what had happened the last time the galaxy underestimated humanity. They remembered how human fleets had risen from nothing, how their strategies defied every known doctrine, how their soldiers fought even when victory seemed impossible. They remembered the words that had spread across the stars like a storm during the first wars. Humans don't quit. The speaker called for order, but their voice trembled now. We must act quickly. If they refuse peace, we must impose it. They must be shown that no one walks away from the assembly. But deep within the speaker's thoughts was a whisper of fear, because the humans had walked away once before. Centuries ago, another council, another empire had demanded submission. It had not ended well for them. As reports came in, the galaxy began to shift. Human ships withdrew from contested borders. Trade routes that had once been open to alien worlds were closed. Embassies dimmed their lights. The silence of humanity's absence grew louder with each passing day. Then came the message. It was not transmitted through official channels. It appeared simultaneously across every major network, every communication array, every data feed in the galaxy. A simple statement recorded in the human's steady voice. We offered peace. You wanted control. We do not seek war, but we will not kneel. The galaxy will not dictate the destiny of Earth or her children. No threats, no bluster, just certainty. And then just as swiftly the message vanished. For a time, the galaxy tried to dismiss it. Fleets were assembled. Diplomats were sent. Propaganda was spread, calling humans reckless, unstable, dangerous. But none of it mattered. The humans no longer answered. Weeks turned to months. Then the first reports arrived. In the outer sectors, alien patrol fleets vanished. Not destroyed, not attacked, gone. Planets that once served as forward bases found their systems empty. Their communications jammed, their stations powered down. The humans had disappeared into the void, and yet their presence was everywhere. Sensors detected ghost signals, ships that appeared and vanished without a trace. Probes sent to investigate never returned. It was as if humanity had become the dark between the stars. Then came the second message. You wish to control us. You have instead awakened us. The peace we sought we will now build on our own terms. You may watch or you may interfere. But know this, if you choose the latter, there will be no assembly left to hold talks. Panic spread. Some powers withdrew their fleets, unwilling to risk what might come next. Others prepared for war, though few truly wanted it. The speaker called another emergency session. The assembly was filled once again with debate, but this time there was something else. A shadow of fear beneath every word. The speaker's voice trembled as they spoke. They mean to defy the order of the galaxy. We cannot allow it. But one of the oldest members of the assembly, a being who had lived through dozens of empires, rose slowly. Perhaps, it said quietly, the order of the galaxy deserves to be defied. For too long we have mistaken control for peace. Perhaps they see something we cannot. The chamber erupted again, yet that whisper lingered. Meanwhile, on the edge of known space, the humans worked. They built silently, efficiently, relentlessly. They turned barren moons into shipyards, dark nebulae into fortresses, and distant suns into beacons of power. Their technology evolved beyond anything the assembly had imagined. Their ships moved faster, their defenses grew stronger, and their unity hardened like forged steel. They had not declared war. They had simply withdrawn, and yet their silence was louder than any fleet. When scouts from the assembly finally ventured close to human space again, what they saw made them tremble. Entire systems glowed with artificial constellations, vast orbital habitats, massive defense networks, and colossal starships unlike anything that had come before. The humans had built not an empire, but something greater, a civilization that no longer sought permission to exist. The assembly tried once more to send envoys. None were harmed, but none were welcomed. Each envoy received the same answer. We remember who tried to silence us. We remember who sought peace through power. We will not forget, but we will not strike first. The stars belong to all who dare to reach them. And so the galaxy watched. Some feared them. Some admired them. All respected them. The humans had not conquered the galaxy. They had simply refused to be conquered by it. And in the silence that followed their departure, the assembly finally understood what had happened in that chamber. The humans had not walked away from peace. They had walked toward freedom.